Hi, our focus today on Newsworthy is on two bills. One is a law now, passed in rather embarrassing and unbecoming ways. Now, both bills, one in Parliament in Delhi, the other in Bihar's Legislative Assembly, are vital to understand because, frankly speaking, they impact you, the citizen, and your rights the most. To start with, what's common to both? Both laws were passed through a voice vote. What does that mean? This is orally cast in unison and based on a rough sense of which side is louder, the ayes or the nays. The speaker makes the final decision. Obviously, the voice vote is quick, but it's not the most accurate way, especially in cases where there is strong opposition to the legislation. By the way, the farm laws were also passed like this. Now, the opposition parties in both Delhi and Bihar objected, stalled, and walked out of the proceedings. I'm going to start with Delhi. The parliament passed the Government of NCT of Delhi Amendment Bill 2021 last week. On Sunday, the president gave his assent, so it has now become a law. It's concerned with the role and powers of the Lieutenant Governor of Delhi. So we're going to refer to it as the LG Bill. Simply put, it increases the powers of the Lieutenant Governor and makes this non-elected post, I'm talking about the post of the LG, equivalent to an elected legislative assembly, which also means the LG's approval becomes mandatory for all decisions taken by an elected government. The LG is not under any obligation to agree to a government's policy decision or even take a decision in a specified period of time. So, an elected government in Delhi could end up waiting for a long time for any policy it wants to implement. Now, Delhi's Legislative Assembly can also no longer make rules on day-to-day administration. So this means that the committees of the Delhi Assembly, that includes, let's say, its Public Accounts Committee or the Public Undertaking Committee, they're both going to cease to exist because they actually investigate the decisions of the government. A layer of context here because it is important. Technically, Delhi is a union territory. It falls under the centre's ambit. It was given a fully elected legislative assembly and a council of ministers through an amendment in the constitution in 1991. There is one clause that in case of a dispute between the governor and the assembly, the governor gets the last word. This clause was also inserted. Now, over time, this clause has become the single source of trouble and conflicts between the LG and the elected government of Delhi. It always has been a source of conflict, but has become a particular sticking point between the Aam Aadmi Party government led by Arvind Kejriwal and the Lieutenant Governor Najib Jung, as also with the current Lieutenant Governor Anil Baijal. Now, in 2018, the Supreme Court actually settled the matter. It ruled that the elected government does not have to seek the concurrence of the LG on its decisions except on issues other than police, public order, and land. It also said that the constitutional primacy of the people's representative government has to be kept in mind during these disputes. So, in favor of the Delhi government. Now, which is why this particular bill passed in Parliament is a source of concern because it almost nullifies the Supreme Court's ruling. It is also ironic because the government has claimed that the bill has been brought to give effect to the Supreme Court judgment, which, as we explained to you, ruled to the contrary. Another reason the government has given is to achieve structural clarity in the conduct of the state government, and depending on how you interpret it, there is some value to that. Now, the thing is that this isn't just a political slugfest. It isn't just about the Arvind Kejriwal government or the Aam Aadmi Party. Laws outlive governments and leaders. Of course, at an immediate level, this is a setback to the Aam Aadmi Party. Delhi is the only major political hold for that party. Its model of governance focused on education and health has found some traction here. But remember, Article 370 in Kashmir and statehood were also taken away by a bill. The Aam Aadmi Party actually backed these decisions in Parliament, Article 370 and the removal of statehood. In fact, on the latter, there have been some noises to the contrary post the decision, but I want to underline that both these decisions simply came from an idea that the governor or the lieutenant governor represents the state government or the state legislator when there is a central rule. And so if he consents to abolish 370 in statehood, then all is fine. There was always a danger that this would be a precedent. What happens really through the LG bill? Well, the lieutenant governor of Delhi is effectively the government itself. It has expanded the powers of the LG's office and diminished the powers of the chief minister's office drastically. The legislator has been overridden. The legislator which you, the capital's voters, voted in. So think about it. Let's move on to the second law which we think is important for you, and Newsworthy, Pallavi has that.
This one is from Bihar, where we urge you to go beyond the politics and see its sharp teeth. The bill converts 21 battalions of Bihar military police to a special police force, ostensibly to protect industrial units in the state. They will have the power to arrest people without a warrant if they suspect they pose a security risk. Officers of a notified rank or above can conduct searches of a suspect's premises without a warrant from a magistrate. The bill also bars courts from taking cognizance of any complaint against SAP personnel except when the government has sanctioned action against concerned officers. These are uncanny resemblances to the UAPA or even the Armed Forces Special Powers Act or AFSPA used in states on our borders where there are insurgencies armed forces are tackling. The Bihar government has argued that the state's growing security needs require a multi-domain police force for industrial security, security of vital installations, airports, etc., and not an over-dependence on central forces. A side note here, the Bihar military police was already doing some of this. The focus here should be the enhanced powers and the impunity it could lead to. Imagine even a court of law cannot take cognizance of an act. There are other loosely worded provisions that have a potential of abuse, the areas where this law will be operational for instance. Valid concerns which the opposition tried to raise and stall the assembly with. Perhaps you have seen the images of what happened thereafter. MLAs were violently marshalled out by the police, beaten, dragged, abused. The JDU and its Chief Minister Nitish Kumar more or less watched in silence, putting the blame mainly on the opposition parties, the Congress and the Rashtriya Janata Dal. The shocking and unparliamentary behavior aside, the crux of the Bihar bill are the wide-ranging powers given to men in uniform, and think about who could be at the receiving end of this possible abuse. I am Pallavi Prasad and this is Newsworthy. If you've been listening, thank you so much for your time.